The year is 625. The sun is at its peak over the valley of Uhud. The sound of clashing swords is fading, replaced by the moans of the wounded and the silence of the martyrs. The Muslims had been winning, but then a mistake was made. The archers left their posts, and from the horizon a small unit of Meccan cavalry saw their chance. At its head was a man on a distinctive red horse. He did not charge head-on into the thick of the battle. He was a surgeon of war. He found the weak point, the exposed flank, and he struck. His charge was swift, precise, and devastating. It turned the tide. The Muslim formation shattered. In the chaos, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was injured. Many of his closest companions fell. As the dust settled, the Muslims looked upon the retreating cavalry and the man who led it. His name was Khalid bin Al-Walid. To them, he was not just another warrior. He was the architect of their greatest sorrow. He was the enemy. But destiny writes its stories with an ink that no man can see. The man who had just brought the Muslims to the brink of annihilation was destined to become the unbreakable sword that would carry their banner to the corners of the earth. This is not a story of a sudden change of heart. This is the story of a warrior's long journey to the truth. Khalid was born into the Makhzum clan of the Quraysh, the military elite of Mecca. Warfare was not a profession for him. It was his inheritance, his art, and his language. From a young age, he learned more than just swordsmanship. He learned to read a battlefield like a scholar reads a book. He understood terrain. He calculated morale. He mastered the element of surprise. His genius was not in brute force, but in cold, calculated strategy. By the time Muhammad began his message, Khalid was already a respected commander. His clan, guardians of the old pagan ways, stood firmly against this new faith. Khalid's talents were naturally deployed for their cause. At Uhud, his actions were not those of a reckless fighter, but of a brilliant tactician exploiting a single error with surgical precision. In Mecca, he was hailed as a hero, but heroes in times of change often find their stage crumbling beneath them. The world Khalid knew began to shift. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah was signed. Then in 630, the unthinkable happened. The Muslim army marched on Mecca, the mighty impregnable Mecca, and took it without a major battle. The Prophet entered as a conqueror, but ruled with a mercy that stunned the city. He declared a general amnesty. "Go, you are free," he said to his former torturers and enemies. Khalid watched as the power structure he had fought for vanished overnight. He saw men of status and pride embrace Islam. He listened, perhaps for the first time without the noise of war, to the words of the Quran. He heard of a God of mercy, of justice, of absolute oneness. A conflict began within the heart of the warrior. The pride of a lifetime of victories wrestled with the undeniable pull of a truth that was conquering not with the sword, but with its essence. It is said that Khalid had a dream. He dreamt of moving from a narrow, barren land into a vast green meadow. He saw it as a sign. The final call came not in a dream, but in a letter. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sent a message directly to Khalid ibn al-Walid. It carried no threat. It issued no ultimatum. It was an invitation from the very man whose victory he had tried to prevent. It was a call to something greater than tribal loyalty, greater than military glory. Khalid, the man of decisive action, made his decision. He mounted his horse and rode to Medina. He stood before the Prophet, the man whose uncle he had helped martyr at Uhud, and without a word of excuse he extended his hand. "I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger." The Prophet welcomed him with open arms. He saw not the enemy of yesterday, but the potential of tomorrow. He gave him a title that would define his future, Saifullah, the sword of Allah. The sword drawn against Islam was now entrusted to its defense. His test came swiftly. At the Battle of Mu'tah, the Muslim army faced the colossal force of the Byzantine Empire. The Muslim commanders were martyred one after another. Leadership by circumstance fell to Khalid. The army was surrounded, outnumbered, and on the verge of annihilation. Could this new convert be trusted? Would he save them or lead them to slaughter? Khalid took command. He did not attempt a heroic, doomed last stand. He executed a fighting retreat that is studied in military academies to this day. He constantly reorganized his troops, switching their positions and banners to confuse the enemy, making his small force appear like fresh reinforcements were arriving. He extracted the Muslim army from certain destruction and brought them home. When they returned to Medina, some people mocked them for retreating. The Prophet stood and silenced the crowd. "They are not fugitives," he said. "They are men who will return to fight again." Then, looking at Khalid, he reaffirmed, "He is a sword among the swords of Allah." What followed was a campaign of conquest that forged history. After the Prophet's passing, Arabia erupted in the wars of apostasy. Caliph Abu Bakr sent the sword of Allah. Khalid moved with a speed and brilliance that seemed superhuman. He fought multiple battles across vast distances in quick succession, defeating rebel armies with tactics that baffled them. In the Battle of Yamama against the false prophet Musaylima, Yamama, he ordered a tactical withdrawal. When the enemy broke ranks in celebration, he wheeled around and shattered them completely. Then he turned the sword north. He faced the two superpowers of the age, the Persian Empire and the Byzantine Empire. At the Battle of Walaja against the Persians, he was outnumbered 5-1. He used a classic double envelopment maneuver, hiding troops and drawing the Persian army into a perfect trap, annihilating them. At the six-day Epic of Yarmouk, his strategic genius broke the Byzantine army and decided the fate of the Levant for centuries. In over 100 battles and skirmishes, he remained undefeated. But even the greatest sword must one day be sheathed. Khalid's very success cast a long shadow. Soldiers began to say, victory comes from Khalid's strategy. The second caliph, Umar, a man of deep wisdom, grew concerned. He feared the people would attribute victory to a man rather than to Allah. To protect the faith, Umar made a difficult decision. He relieved Khalid of supreme command. The letter arrived in Syria. Khalid gathered his army, read the caliph's order aloud, and immediately pledged his allegiance to his successor, Abu Ubaidah. He then asked, shall I remain in the army as a common soldier? The conqueror of empires willingly became a frontline soldier under the command of another. In that moment, he demonstrated a loyalty greater than to his own fame, loyalty to the unity of the Ummah. He understood he was the sword, and the Ummah was the hand that wielded it. When the hand decided to wrest the sword did not resist. Years later, Khalid died not on a battlefield, but in his bed in Homs. On his deathbed, he looked over a lifetime of scars and said, I have fought in so many battles seeking martyrdom that there is no spot on my body without a wound, and yet here I am, dying on my bed like an old camel. May the eyes of the cowards never sleep. The sword of Allah was finally at rest. From the fiercest enemy to the greatest defender, his life stands as eternal proof that when a mighty talent submits to the truth, it becomes an instrument for shaping history itself.